September 13, 2015. Garden Valley Fire Department personnel responded to a wildland fire in the community of Greenwood, El Dorado County, California. A small vacation cabin in popular mountain country about 50 miles from Sacramento was burning in the middle of a 10-acre wildfire. After they contained the fire, Fire Captain Wes Norman noticed something, a smell. Sweet, unusual. He could not identify it at first, and then it clicked. It was burnt flesh, he said. He saw a skull, part of a chest cavity. The cabin belonged to Adam Buchanan, 38 years old, owner of Buchanan Construction in Benicia, California. Inside were his fiancée, Molly McAfee, and their 8-year-old son, Gavin. When police went to the family home in Benicia, 16-year-old Nolen Buchanan, Adam's son from a previous marriage, answered the door. He told police he had never gone to the cabin at all, that he had stayed behind in Benicia the entire weekend while his family went up without him. But he was lying about all of it. Stay with me, because this story has one of the most calculated cover-ups attempts in California true crime. A 16-year-old who killed his entire family, then went back to Benicia High School and sat in class for weeks while investigators tried to piece together what had happened to his family. To understand what Nolen Buchanan destroyed, you have to understand who Adam, Molly, and Gavin actually were. Adam Buchanan was 38 years old. He had built Buchanan Construction from the ground up in Benicia. He was a kind of man who showed up to job sites, knew his crew by name, did the work himself when it needed doing. He had been married before Nolen's mother was his first wife. That marriage had not lasted, but Adam had remained involved in Nolen's life. He had brought Nolen into his world, including him in the business, treating him like a son who had a future alongside him. And Adam had always intended to give the business to his sons. Molly McAfee was 37. Ran the office and was engaged to Adam. Their 8-year-old son Gavin, Nolen's half-brother, was by all accounts a bright and happy child. A third grader who was passionate about dogs and canine protection. But behind the scenes, Buchanan Construction was struggling. The business had hit a rough patch. Employees had been laid off. The financial pressure was mounting. Nolen knew about the business problems. Nolen also knew something else. He knew that his father had always planned to hand that business down to his sons. And he had decided that he was not willing to share it. Not with Gavin, not with anyone. Prosecutor Jamie Pesci put it to the jury in the starkest possible terms. September 14, 2015 was the best day in the life of Nolen Buchanan. He woke up with a girlfriend and was the owner of Buchanan Construction. He was about to inherit the family cars, the house, and the business. The Buchanan family left for their cabin on Friday, September 11, 2015. Adam, Molly, Gavin, and Nolen, all 4 of them in the family F-150. The original plan was a family weekend working on the cabin together. They spent Saturday working on the property. That night, Adam and Molly drove to the Valencia Club in Penryn, about 30 minutes away. Nolen stayed behind at the cabin with his little brother Gavin. In the early hours of Sunday morning, surveillance cameras captured the F-150 heading back toward the cabin. Then, roughly an hour later, the same truck was seen driving back toward the Bay Area, this time with only one person inside. Investigators believe that in that short window, Nolen Buchanan used a .22 caliber rifle to shoot his father Adam, Molly, and Gavin inside the cabin. He then poured gasoline over the bodies and over the cabin itself, and set it on fire. He drove the family truck back to Benicia. The next morning, while the cabin was still burning 50 miles away, Nolen was using his dead father's ATM card, buying food at Starbucks and McDonald's, and getting gas. But the most chilling thing Nolen did in the hours after the murders, it was what he said to family members when they gathered. He kept saying, "I am the sole owner," Molly's sister Rachel Johnson told investigators. "That's when I knew he had done something." When police first arrived at the Cambridge drive home to tell Nolen his family's cabin had burned, he answered the door holding a beer. He told investigators he had stayed home in Benicia the whole weekend. He had never gone to the cabin at all. He told them he had been trying to call his dad's phone but got no answer. The very next morning, Nolen Buchanan went back to Benicia High School like nothing had happened. Classmates would later tell reporters that he had seemed completely unfazed, not grieving, not distressed. Meanwhile, investigators were tearing apart his story. They discovered that Adam's debit card had been used at Starbucks, McDonald's, and a gas station in Benicia on the morning of the fire. And most extraordinary, a group of citizens cleaning up a field near the Buchanan construction business on East 2nd Street found something hidden under a chest of drawers. Molly's purse, Adam's wallet, a rifle, and ammunition. And when forensic teams examined that rifle, Nolen's fingerprints were on it. His fingerprints. On the gun that killed his father, his stepmother, and his 8-year-old half-brother. On September 23rd, investigators confronted Nolen at his school with what they had found. He was arrested on October 1st, 2015, and charged with 3 counts of murder. When investigators pressed Nolen on the ATM withdrawals, he had an answer for that too. He said his dad had left him the ATM card before the family went to the cabin, that he had used it to take his girlfriend out on a date that weekend. He also suggested the business problems, the laid-off employees, might have made enemies for Adam, maybe a disgruntled former worker. But the evidence kept pointing in one direction: the fingerprints on the rifle found near the family business, the ATM withdrawals, and one more detail that proved premeditation beyond any reasonable doubt: the absence of a firearm at the crime scene. The absence of a firearm means that there was somebody else that had been in the cabin and killed 3 people. Investigators stated, because if Adam had shot Molly and Gavin and then killed himself, the gun would have been there. It was not there because Nolen had taken it with him, and then disposed of it near his father's own business, along with Adam's wallet and Molly's purse. A 16-year-old boy who thought he had covered his tracks. He was charged as an adult with 3 counts of first-degree murder. His trial began in May 2018 at the El Dorado County Superior Court in South Lake Tahoe. He was 19 years old, 3 years older than he had been the night of the murders. His defense attorney, Lori London, presented one final story. He claimed his father had snapped. He said Adam had shot Molly and Gavin and then turned the gun on Nolen. That Nolen had wrestled the gun away in self-defense and shot his father. That he had panicked. That the fire was to cover the evidence of his father's actions, not his own. Prosecutors dismantled the story piece by piece. The forensic evidence, the surveillance footage, the ATM withdrawals, and Nolen's fingerprints on the murder weapon all contradicted his account. On June 13, 2018, Nolen Keith Buchanan was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 150 years to life in state prison. Due to California laws regarding juvenile offenders, he may become eligible for a youth offender parole hearing after serving approximately 25 years in custody.